and welcome to our Season 8 Game of Thrones podcast. My name is Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
And I'm Glow.
We're the fucking Morning Throners. Alright, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Morning Throners podcast. We are getting so excited for the Season 8 premiere this coming Sunday. Going into that, we reached out to some of our viewers and opened it up for some talking points or crazy theories that you might have. Just want to talk about them before Sunday. So a couple of our viewers wrote in. We're going to talk about them now. So Nelson's got them all lined up.
Grab your tinfoil hats.
All right, the first theories we had written into us were by Ali Superpowers on Twitter. And her first theory is Tyrion is a Targaryen. So right off the bat, I'm not sure what her experience is with Game of Thrones show, if she's read the books or not. But right off the bat, I think that is way more plausible theory on the books.
And this is with a theory that you told me about when I started reading. This is something like book 2. You brought it up to me.
Yeah, so this is definitely something I can get behind. Right, but the reason I don't see it happening in the show is because a lot of the main evidence for it is only in the books. The one main thing being Tyrion in the books has one purple eye and one green eye. So people think green eye Lannister, purple eye Targaryen. Also in the books, Tyrion has a lot of dragon dreams. There is a part in the show when he goes down and lets the dragons out of their chains that he says, "I always wanted one of you," and stuff like that.
Chop his head off.
Yeah, and he said, when I was a kid, I dreamed of one of you. I only wanted a small one. So that might be a hit, but again, I think that's in the show because it was in the book, and I think it's in the book because of some of this other stuff.
Is it in the show? Is that the first time he sees the dragons in the show? When he lets them free?
Yeah. Well, he sees them flying around. I think he never went up close and personal before, though.
Yeah. He sees the one fly above him when he's coming with Jorah in the show. That'd be the first time he sees him. So, the other thing I guess for this is they do take to him, right? The dragons aren't friendly with everybody, and they're kind of cool with him going into their pit.
Yeah.
But also he's freeing them, so maybe that's why they're cool with him. For this theory, what do you guys think? I think way more likely in the books. Maybe a 60%, 50% chance in the books. I don't know about the show, though.
I think it might be higher in the books, honestly, but higher percentage. Definitely not in the show, though.
I think some of these.
I don't know if I want it to be true in the book because there's too many. Then you got
too many Targaryen. Well, three-headed dragon. So again, if they're going to do that in the show,
dragon.
So I guess here's another reason.
If Jon is a Targaryen in the books, that's 3.
What do you mean?
I've heard of theories that Mad Heiress kind of raped Lannister's wife.
Her name. And that makes sense.
Is that how it would be plausible? And that's. The link is that the Mad King.
There's a thing, and again, this is only in the books, but I think it's only in the books. There's a thing where Mad King Aerys, while Tywin's his hand, when Tywin gets, or maybe it's before Tywin's hand, when Tywin gets married to his wife, who is also his cousin, I think, Aerys says, "I wish the Lord's right to the first night was still a thing," suggesting
right.
I want to give this chick.
You bang it before.
Exactly. Yeah.
They consummate the marriage.
So that's another reason for some of this. So again, the 3 heads of the dragon thing in the books makes sense because we kind of have this guy, right? But in the show, we don't have a third head. We have Jon, Dany. Who's the third one? Is there one? Do we need one? I guess Tyrion's as likely as anybody. He gets along with the dragons, but so does Jorah and Melisandre. So.
Yeah, but how well do they get along with them? They just stand around while Daenerys is there.
As long as you're with a huge dragon, it's not roasting you alive. I consider that.
That's a win.
Good enough. That's a win.
I have another question about this one. The timeline of it. I'm big on timelines now because I think it's all horseshit. Is Tywin already the hand? Is he married when he becomes hand? Or is he hand and then gets married?
I don't
meets
remember.
Meets her at court.
Off the top of my head, I don't remember exactly, but I know I've looked it up, and it does make sense that him and his wife were both at court 9 months before Tyrion was born.
Okay. She wouldn't have been just chilling on Castle Rock.
Yeah, I think...
the Mad King had to go back to...
I think, it was because Jaime and Cersei, were now old enough to visit court, so she brought... Tywin was already at court, and she brought them to court for the first time. And then I think Tywin sent them away because some weird stuff was happening with Aerys, potentially Tyrion. But again, there's way less evidence for that in the books, and I don't even know how you would confirm it at this point. I guess, or in the show, and I guess you could have Bran confirm anything.
Yeah,
really.
Bran does. Yeah.
Honestly, if they tried to do it in the show, it would feel really forced. Because, again, there's nothing tying Tyrion in the show.
Yeah, and the reason I'm going to be skeptical on some of these theories is, like we're going to talk about for all of them, is for that reason. I think there's a lot that could happen in the books that, like, when it happens, like, oh my god, everything makes sense now. But they didn't do the setup in the show. So in the show, if that happens, it would be crazy and it would be a crazy twist, but it's like you didn't really put in the work doing the foreshadowing and stuff, so like...
Right. Like, my girlfriend just got done... I'm using my girlfriend because you guys know her, but she just got done watching Season 7 today. So she watched the finale, and she's like, who's this guy saving Jon? And I'm like, well, it's Uncle Benjen. And she's like, well, who's Uncle Benjen? And I'm like, well, you haven't seen him in a really long time. So, just like, and I explained to her how Cold Hands does some really cool shit in the books, where we don't know that that's Benjen, but we can suspect it is.
Yeah.
And, like, he does way cooler shit in the books where he does one thing in the show.
So here's another theory that is a huge fan theory that nobody wrote in about it, but I think like everybody's kind of expecting it, even us at this point. But there's no evidence for it anywhere in the books or the show, I don't think. And that's Clegane Bowl.
Yeah.
Like, people are always like, it'd be so cool to see them fight, and I think we're gonna see it because I think...
Do you think the show
It's a fanfare.
The show just hyped that up, yeah. Like, they're like, alright, everybody wants this, yeah.
Exactly, the fans wanted that so much, they kind of have to put it in now. But I don't think George R. R. Martin is that kind of guy. I don't care what the fans want, I'm gonna put what they don't want to blow their minds. But Dave and Dan, the showrunners, I think we're gonna see them cross swords at least once. I mean, in the books, the Hound, not even a fighter right now. We don't even know if he's alive.
We don't know if he's alive.
Yeah, exactly.
The thing that I would say is the last time we get his perspective is when Arya's with him, and he does say like he hates his brother.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely
all that shit.
There's definitely hatred there.
It's not like there's any love lost between the two of them.
Another quick one. We won't have to go deep because nobody wrote in about this one, but the whole Cersei gets killed by her little brother by the Valonqar, right? That's not in the show. People are like, "Oh, Jaime or Tyrion's going to kill Cersei in the show." I'm like, there's no Valonqar theory in the show.
The Wood Witch didn't say that at all?
No, there is the Wood Witch, and she says a thing about the kids, and like all your kids will have golden crowns and shrouds. But there's nothing about Valonqar in the show. So I don't know why everybody's thinking, like, I mean, I get it. It's the same. It's based off the same thing. Maybe George told him who killed Cersei, so it will happen to be a Valonqar, but they're not doing the setup, so I'm like less inclined to believe it goes that way.
All right. One more quick one before we get into another one that was written. It's not like a theory or anything like this, but when people were trying to write the show for Game of Thrones, like George R. R. Martin, like the one question he would ask, like, who's Jon Snow's mom, right?
Yeah.
Do you think like that was a really a big decision in it? Like, is he quoted in saying that?
Yeah. They've all three been on interviews before where they've told the story. Like, they went and they were just gonna have like a short 1 hour lunch. This is George and the two showrunners now, Dave and Dan. They went and they were gonna have like a short lunch, and they ended up talking through like for 3 hours to the point the restaurant cleared out because the lunch rush went away, and then the dinner rush started coming in, and then they stayed there till the place closed, and they were just talking Game of Thrones the whole time. And then this is the story that they say is when he was deciding whether he was going to let them make the show or not, he asked them who's Jon Snow's mom. They answered with who they thought, who we now know is Lyanna and Rhaegar. He said who's Jon Snow's parents, and he's like, all right, fine, you can make the show. I, in my head, still don't think that that's true in the books. I hope it's not. I think there's like other theories. We'll get into that later. I hope that George was just pulling a fast one. He's like, okay, you can tell that story. I'll tell my own story. That way it'll be different. That's why he let him have it.
That would make sense too. That'd be a George R. R. move.
It would. It'd be less likely, but I kind of want that to happen. But yeah, so apparently he's defined for them in broad strokes. But there's just some stuff that you can't do because they change stuff. Like, I know there was an interview with George R. R. Martin for the premiere of the final season. They were like, what do you think affected the show the most, the story that they left out? Like, what was in the books that they left out that's affected the way the story goes? And he said definitely Lady Stoneheart.
So you think she has a big,
Stoneheart's
big part?
She's gonna have something. She's gonna be a big story, like a big player in the story. And
yeah, I mean, just the fact that she kind of like took over the Brotherhood.
Yeah.
And like the Brotherhood was like, all right, well, we're nothing anymore. Like we're her. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, all right, so we'll go with the next. Allie Superpowers wrote in 2. So her second one, I think this will be a good one to talk about, is the Night King and the White Walkers, their goal is that they're after Dany and Jon's unconfirmed and unborn child. So this theory relies on a few things. One, Daenerys can have kids. 2, she already did it with Jon, which she's been doing deals with Dario for how long and hasn't popped out any babies. So, I mean, that doesn't mean anything.
She could have been popping some moon tea.
Didn't they bring up her having like a period or something in one of the episodes?
I don't think so.
I'm not sure. I don't think in the show. There's a big episode about
in the
Sansa's
books.
period.
I'm thinking of the books.
All right.
And the whole thing about her not having kids, like when Miriam Mazdul says that, it's part of like a big riddle. It's like you won't quicken until the sun rises in the north and sets in the east or whatever. And if you look at that theory, I haven't done it, I should probably have it up, but people have pointed like stuff could, again, this is mostly in the books, like the sun rises in the west and sets in the east. People think that could be Quentin Martell coming to see her from the west, right? So people think it's not like as literal as it sounds.
More
figuratively. Again, stuff like that isn't in the books, though, or isn't in the show. So if you have a prophecy that says that, but you know you're not going to put Quentin in the show, you would at least change the prophecy? Or I guess maybe then that clues in the book readers that that's what the prophecy means? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, in my mind, in the show, if she can't have kids, she's worthless. Because now you have Jon, the rightful heir. Like, he doesn't need Daenerys. She's not giving him an heir. She's pointless then.
That's true. I think that's why Jon has to die. Because the whole her breaking the wheel thing, I think that relies on, if that's going to happen, if she's going to become the queen and break the wheel, I think that means that this whole like system of like this monarchy system where you just pass it on to your kid is wrong. If she wins it all and sits on the Iron Throne, then like Tyrion talked to her about last season, they need to figure out succession. And if they instill, like, kind of like almost what the Ironborn do, right? The Ironborn are, like, the most democratic people on all of it.
Yeah, they have
at least with the Kingsmoot. And they don't do it often. Normally, they just pass it on to their kid. But, like, they do the Kingsmoot every once in a while. And that's, like, the most democratic thing.
Yeah.
So, if that's what she means by break the wheel, that's what a lot of people think, that would almost require her to not be able to have...
I never thought of that.
That would almost require her to not be able to have kids. But let's assume for this theory that she can have kids and she's pregnant with Jon's baby. Is there evidence that this theory is true? So I looked up a more in-depth read of this theory, and one of the main points for it is the Night King has seemed to have let Jon live in places where he could have definitely killed him. Ice Lake.
Hardhome,
yeah.
Right? Like, you had Jon trapped at Hardhome. Just get him. And it seems like he was trying to get him, so it's like kind of like, can you say he let him get away, or did Jon really just get away on his own? But if the Night King is trying to let him get away...
I feel like the Night King's not a stupid guy, though. Like, I don't expect the Night King to be at the front lines of any... He can't be.
I don't think
that's be at the front lines.
That's not what I mean. That's not what I mean, that he physically...
Yeah, but, like... The Ice Lake, you know, he threw a fucking spear at a dragon and killed him. He could have threw a spear at Jon.
Or a couple, right? If he misses one or two, he's got 7 of them. He could throw a couple.
Yeah.
That was actually
big dragon target. See, this is what I don't like. I don't like
hits
that
it in the heart and fucking crashes.
I don't
down
like that
dies.
his first throw on the money, and then his second one was like, oh, well, you missed that one. Bullshit. He should have missed like 4 then, and then got lucky. But I guess that takes away from him being like a superpower guy.
Well, so another part of this is that people think the Night King has the same type of power as Bran does, where you can kind of see what has happened.
He definitely can. Oh my god, that's got to be proven.
So, one of my main questions the whole time through Game of Thrones is, why are the White Walkers coming back now? Right? And a lot of people say, oh, they're after Gilly's baby. But they attack in the prologue. Before anything happens that we read about or we see in the show, they attack. They're after something. Yeah. What is it? Well, 14 years before, Jon Snow was born. Maybe that's when they started rising to power. They know that now we have this child who is half fire, half ice. And that's who we're after, is that person.
All right. What would getting that baby do for them?
So we've never seen and this isn't my theory, this is what I read, and again, it's going off what I'm saying. Maybe that's why they're active now, is because Jon Snow was born. They want to go get Jon Snow. He's too old. He can't change grown men, but we have seen him put his finger on Craster's babies and turn them. So maybe he can only do it to babies. Jon's too old, so maybe the Night King's just letting Jon live till he has a kid. Right? That's kind of like the main point behind this theory.
But now unless he is with Daenerys, we're diluting that ice fire baby. Like, say he would get with a Tully. You know, now we're throwing some other blood in that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So...
And even with Daenerys, it's more fire dominant baby.
But again, if he can see the future and he knows, oh, hey, if I leave Jon live here, eventually he's gonna meet up with this dragon lady. He's like, if I amass such an army that's
but what's the point of the baby though?
Because if he's like, maybe that's the only thing the Night King can turn. That's kind of at the basis of this theory. He can't.
No, but like, what's so powerful? Like, why this baby? Like,
because it's ice and fire. I don't. Yeah, that's kind of the theory. It's like there's so many questions, like it's hard to answer. But this theory, I don't think there's many things. There's not a ton of evidence to support it, but there's also not many things that can go directly against it. There can be like what ifs or like whys, but nothing like, oh no, this line says Night King's after Gilly's baby.
Yeah, I mean it's a tough one to rule out. Like they're definitely after something.
Yeah,
but
and that's one of my main questions: is what are they after?
It's not very Games of Thrones if Jon and Daenerys have a kid and they're happily ever after on the Iron Throne. That doesn't go with everything that's happened the first 7 seasons. If one of them dies and then the kid lives through,
or what about this? This is super Game of Thronesy. They have a kid. Jon's all about sacrificing for the greater good. They realize this kid is what the Night King's after. They can just give it to him and end the war. They can give them their baby, sacrifice their own kid. The two leaders have to sacrifice their own child, and then to save the rest of the realm.
All right, but why would the White Walkers just stop it when they get that baby? All right, we're cool. We'll go home.
We don't know. We don't know what they want. That's the thing. Is like we don't know what they want, so you can never tell. Like there has to be something that eventually they'll be like, all right, we'll go home, because it happened before. They did it with the First Men, right? Didn't the First Men somehow beat the White Walkers? We don't know how.
I think it's a pretty cool theory. It's just so unknown what they're after and what their their whole deal is that it's just too hard to. I mean, it's cool to talk about. But.
Yeah. Well, in the shows, though, they were kind of created to destroy man, so maybe that's their main goal in the shows. It's like a Mr. Meeseeks, you know? They got to complete their goal before they leave. Kill all man.
Yeah. And they're all just going to disappear. Once there's nobody in the world, they just disappear, and it's just like animals living again. I mean, I guess that's kind of what the Children of the Forest wanted, right?
Yeah. Sure.
All right, so thank you, Ally Superpowers, for writing in, and thank you for following the podcast. Our next theory comes from JAlley6 on Twitter, and this is about Melisandre being Nissa Nissa. Right off the bat, what do you guys think of this?
One, like we talked about off air, I think you need to give a little bit of background on who Nissa Nissa is, because
so,
a lot of people are going to be like, who the fuck is that?
Okay, yeah, so again, I don't even know if Nissa Nissa is, like, those words are said in the, this is one of the problems I see with this theory, is I don't know if those words, Nissa Nissa, are ever said in the show. In the books, we know Nissa Nissa was the wife of Azor Ahai, the prince that was promised. Technically, Azor Ahai and Prince that was promised could be two different people. We hear about them, never talked they never reference them at the same time as the same person, so they could be different people. But a lot of people think Azor Ahai is the prince that was promised. Nissa Nissa was Azor Ahai's wife. Azor Ahai was this hero who fought off the darkness the first time, and he tried for like 100 days to forge a sword, and he tempered it in water and it broke. He did it for 200 days, tempered it in a lion's heart. It broke again. Then he did it for 300 days, and he tempered it in his wife's heart, and it became Lightbringer. So a lot of that theory a lot of that story doesn't go along with anything we've seen or really align with this theory. But the main point is Melisandre is the one that gets stabbed in the heart with a sword, and that sword becomes Lightbringer.
And in turn, that sword becomes the
one that can
weapon that just wipes everybody out.
Yeah. So, and again, in this theory, the video that JAlley6 sent me was by Talking Thrones, and you can look it up. It's one of his most recent videos that goes really in depth with this theory. It kind of talks about how the Night King, we don't know if he can be killed by Dragonglass or Valyrian Steel. We know the Whites can and the White Walkers, but is the Night King special above them? Like, this is I think is a far fetch. Like, you think that Valyrian Steel?
If he is above it, it's bullshit. All right, they've got enough advantages already. Like, throw the humans a bone.
If not, what's the point in Lightbringer?
Because it's just gonna cut through them like a hot knife through butter. Wow, wow, wow.
Well, we don't really know if Lightbringer's
Maybe
really
it's
a
like
sword.
the Call of Duty sword where you can just like shoot flames out and just like mow them down.
Yeah, I kind of agree that I think the Night King could probably get killed by dragon glass or Valyrian steel or fire from a dragon. So I don't think Lightbringer is necessary. But I do like this theory. If you look it up there, especially in the books, there's a ton of evidence for it. And a lot of it is in the show, too. One of them, so one main part is Lightbringer gets stabbed through the heart of Nissa Nissa to become Lightbringer. Melisandre, her banners that she merges with Stannis is a flaming heart. Right off the bat, flaming heart. Her very first scene in the show ever is on the beaches.
Why would it be a heart? It doesn't make any sense.
Right? It doesn't.
Yeah. Okay.
Her very first scene in the show is Stannis pulling Lightbringer, fake Lightbringer, out of like a wooden statue of one of the gods on the beach.
But it doesn't. His sword doesn't light up, does it?
It's on fire, but it's not like special. And even in the
Right,
books,
right.
I think she put like some on there.
Yeah, and don't they say
Witches
like it
shit.
ruined the steel?
Yeah.
In
well,
the show?
they talk about Gendry says that when Thoros lights his swords on fire, it ruins the steel. But yeah, even in the books, Maester Aemon, who's blind, says he knows this prophecy and he knows of
That
Lightbringer, and
sword's
he
not
can
hot.
feel that there's no heat coming off the sword because he's blind, so he's not fooled by the sword. So, like, Lightbringer isn't there yet. Are we going to see it? Maybe, maybe not. If so, I think it's likely that she's the one. So here are a couple scenes from the show. Again, I'm not going to remember all this video, but here are a few that are pretty convincing. When she tries to seduce Jon the first time, she walks up to him. He's behind the table. She bares her breast. And in the Nissa Nissa prophecy, it says, Azor Ahai tells Nissa Nissa, bare your breast. And it says, like, she does it for some unknown reason. And then that's when he stabs her. And she cries out in anguish and ecstasy. Melisandre, she bares her breast, goes to Jon Snow trying to seduce him. And we all think that she's trying to make a shadow baby like she did with Stannis.
Yeah.
But really, maybe that's not what she's talking about. And then she says, we have the power to make life, and we have the power to make light. That's what she says. She pulls her shirt open and says those two things. Lightbringer.
Yeah.
Next one.
Let's just make one comment quick since we did last episode. Great pair of Hooters. Oh my God.
Very good.
Holy Lord. Unfortunately, she's like a really old lady. Like really old. But wow. Her as a young girl, smoke show.
Yeah. So that could be hinting at that. At the whole, like, bare your breast thing. Also, and this is more in the books. This is a line from the books, but it's actually in the one Melisandre chapter, which I just read. And she says that when she's looking into the flames, she, like, feels the fire inside her, and it's in anguish and ecstasy all at the same time, which is the exact same phrasing they use for the Nissa Nissa prophecy. And in the Davos chapter where she gives birth to the shadow baby, it says that her cry is a scream of anguish and ecstasy. So all of them, like, and in the video I watched, it said that George R. R. Martin only uses the word ecstasy 5 times in the books, and they're all talking about Melisandre except for the one time it talks about Nissa Nissa. And then the other evidence is the one time Jon Snow is riding down in the cage with her, and this is a scene that's in the show and in the books. And in the books, it's basically the exact same scene, but in the books we know what Jon's thinking, and he's thinking that she smells like Micken's forge. And then
oh shit.
Yeah. And even in the show, it's when he's like, aren't you cold, my lady? And she like takes his glove off and she like touches him. She's like, I don't get cold. Which is another part of the Azor Ahai Lightbringer prophecy. Is they say Lightbringer, when he's in battle, it's as hot as like lava or dragon fire. But when he's not in battle, it's as hot as Nissa Nissa, who was always warm. So Nissa Nissa was always warm. Melisandre's always warm. Again, kind of a similar.
I would like to know about some more Red Priests. Like, Thoros looked like he was pretty goddamn cold north of the wall. You know
yeah, you're right. And then the only other one we know in the show is the one who talks to Varys. You think we're going to see her again?
It wouldn't make sense if we didn't. Like, what was her point?
Yeah, she even says, I'm going to die in this strange land, or we're going to die in this strange land.
So again, that's Melisandre. If she's seen in her visions where she's going to die, and that maybe that's why she's bearing her breast to Jon and doing all this stuff. Also, again, this is only in the books, but I think everybody will understand it. when in the show, Maester Aemon dies at the Wall before Jon sends Sam away. In the books, Jon sends Sam and Maester Aemon away together to try and get Maester Aemon back to the Citadel. But when Maester Aemon leaves, he leaves a passage for Jon Snow.
Mm-hmm.
About Azor
Ahai.
Lightbringer. About Lightbringer and Azor Ahai. And how it's actually the passage about how it was always as warm as Nissa Nissa was. It's like Maester Aemon trying to tell you, hey, there's this lady who's always warm. Here's a passage about a sword.
Here's my thing. If Melisandre's so smart, like, she's with Jon, Stannis is still alive, and, Stannis is our true king. He's the one that'll end the long night. But she's showing her tits to Jon, it's just conflicting.
Yeah, it is. If she knows that Lightbringer will actually be for Jon, made through her, why even be with Stannis the whole time?
Yeah, why are you yanking his chain? Just tell him you lied.
Wait, so what do you guys think of that theory overall? What do you guys think?
Definitely think it's true. It would be like the one cool thing that Melisandre does for the whole, realm, and she's on my fantasy team, so yeah, let's stab her ass in the heart. The problem is, I think I said episode 2, so I might be a little bit early.
Well, if Jon wants to have Lightbringer for the battle... So, again, I really like the theory. Here's my main problem with it. I don't think they ever mention Nissa Nissa or how Azor Ahai is made in the show.
But do they need to mention
I was about to say in the show, I don't know if it's going to happen.
Again, that doesn't mean they need to, and it could be cool. Like, it's not like... And this is what I told J. Alley 6 when I was talking to him about it, was... In the show, or in the books, it makes more sense if we have this whole prophecy of getting stabbed in the heart, making a sword. But also, in the show, we do have this lady who's the fire god, and then we have Jon Snow, and she has talked about Lightbringer. It wouldn't be beyond belief for people who haven't read the books that stabbing her in the heart with a special sword makes that sword even more special, right?
Right.
It's not unbelievable that she could sacrifice herself for this
even
great
if
sword.
Melisandre would go up to Jon and be like, look, if you're going to win this war, you're going to kill me right now, and you're going to have all the power of R'hllor. And swang, boom, combustion. Jon Snow wins, goes, hugs his girl. They sit on the Iron Throne for the next 50 years or so.
If you think this has a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention.
So in the books,
I kind of want it to have. I don't want it to, but I kind of do. Like, I'd be cool. I'd be cool with a happy ending.
It's not bad. Like, I don't mind the theory at all. I just don't think it's going to happen in the books. Like, for me, the 3 tempered swords deal with Jon being in love, Ygritte dies, and I think Val's going to die, and then either Melisandre or Daenerys is going to be the next one that dies that brings Lightbringer.
Yeah.
Wait, you think Val
is going to die?
She just went north of the wall for me. What does she matter about?
Jon kind of has a crush on her.
Yeah, Jon has a crush on her.
Come on.
And you'll see later he kind of steals her.
Okay.
In a sense.
I don't remember that book. All right. Next theory, next write-in theory is from Twitterless Aunt Jen, which is my aunt. Thanks, Aunt Jen, for watching.
Be Twitterless.
She might not be Twitterless. She didn't tweet it in. I got this one personally. This theory, and again, I think she got this somewhere, and I tried to look it up, and there's not much evidence for it or against it, but it's there is one cool piece of evidence, and it's in the House of the Undying, and this is like a show. This might be like a show-only one. I don't remember if the House of the Undying is the same in the books, but the theory is Dany loses both her dragons before she dies, and then somehow makes a deal with the Night King to sacrifice herself. Like, hey, I'll join you. You can turn me into a White Walker, but you have to raise my dragons, and I want to be with my kids again. Makes sense, because Dany's all about the dragons and stuff. And here's the evidence, right? So it's really only one thing, and it's the whole House of the Undying vision, if you guys remember. She goes into the Iron Throne. Snow everywhere. She walks up to it, goes to touch it. Then she hears her dragons, I think. Or she hears I think she hears her dragons. So she walks out. When she walks out of that room, she's beyond the wall. And she goes in, beyond the wall, there's a Dothraki tent, but it's like in the middle of the snow. And she goes in it and she sees Drogo and her unborn son. And then she's like she talks to them a little bit and she wants to stay with them. But then she hears her dragons again. So she leaves her family to go save her dragons. And then her dragons end up saving her. Huh?
This isn't the show?
This is in the show.
Yeah.
I need to go back and watch that episode.
The House of the Undying.
I don't really. Yeah, I remember her being there and crazy shit happening. I just don't remember the details of it. But.
So people think that the first part of that prophecy vision, has already happened. She wants to take the Iron Throne. She comes to Westeros, gets really close, goes and sees Cersei, realizes there's something more important north of the Wall. Goes north of the Wall, which is her walking out of the Iron Throne north of the Wall to save Jon and them. Now, she's attached to family members. Jon, potentially Jon's baby. But she in the vision, she, even though she's with Drogo and her son, she leaves them for her dragons. So people think, okay, she's already left the Iron Throne to go north of the Wall. Now is she going to leave her family for her dragons?
I mean, I wouldn't really consider
totally see
leaving her family because she considers them family.
What do you mean? Say that again?
She considers her dragons her family. So
yeah, but I mean, she leaves like her loved one, her husband and son.
Yeah, okay.
Which could potentially be like Jon and baby if they do if that does happen.
Yeah, I could definitely see that happening in the show. I mean, she's also they're also the last 3 dragons. No dragon eggs left.
Yeah,
bringing 1 or 2 back to life. I think they're
and it would kind of make sense. Like Dany's dragons, her big problem is I can't keep these dragons. Like when she's a Marine, she's not just letting the dragons do what they want because they're eating people. Like it's not like if she takes the throne, she's just gonna let these dragons roam and eat everybody. Like she's gonna have to figure something out. She's gonna have to lock them up. This is kind of like a win-win. Her dragons get to go super north of the Wall and be dead zombie dragons and just fly and kill as many zombies as they want or do whatever they do north of the Wall. There's nobody that matters up there that they could kill.
At the same time, they're kind of hive mind controlled by the NightKing.
Yeah, so that would suck. But if he was like, hey, I'll make you White Walker, then you can hive mind control your dragons.
Nah, I don't know. I don't really like it.
So again, it's kind
like
of with the whole like, what does the NightKing want? Is it a
Exactly.
lot of people think it's like a way to reproduce? He has no way to reproduce right now. He's just getting babies. He's just been getting babies from Crash, so that's how they reproduce. And when the babies stop, that's why they get mad. Again, I don't really buy 100% behind that theory because why they attack.
We don't even know if he has a dick or not. Come on.
We don't, but theoretically, you would need a girl White Walker to reproduce.
I don't know. Dolphins don't.
Is that true? I don't know.
What?
I don't know dolphin anatomy.
I don't think dolphins are asexual.
What do you mean? How do you think dolphins have babies, Jeff? Dolphins have dicks.
It was, you guys ever see Chuck and Larry?
No.
I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry, Adam Sandler and Kevin James.
I think I've seen parts of it on TV. I haven't seen the whole thing.
It's all about them being, like, gay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the little girl's in court, she's like, orcas, bottlenose dolphins, and what, like another species, like species that can like change their sex in order to have babies. I was just making like a
reference joke. Gotcha.
little reference joke.
Nice. I liked it.
You can cut it out.
Landed pretty good.
All right. Well, so what do you guys think about that? What do you think about that theory in general?
I don't like
It's
it.
plausible. I don't know if it's 100%.
I think it's definitely plausible. I don't like it though. I think it's a waste of the dragon.
I think it'd be a better ending.
It's a
than
waste
happy
of.
ending.
It's a waste of 8 years or 8 seasons.
Yeah. I mean, that would kind of be.
It's a complete waste.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You'll walk over there and we'll be over. I'd rather see everybody die but the NightKing than that happen.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's plausible. Again, there's not much evidence for it. It's like this one vision in the House of the Undying lined up with something that happened last season. That's really the only evidence. But there's also not like there's no evidence against most of these, right? That's why they're theories, is because people found things that you can't poke holes in. But yeah, there's not much backing it up. I think unlike Jeff, I think it would be kind of cool. But yeah, it does seem like it would kind of be a waste of Dany's whole storyline if that's how it ended. All right, you guys have any theories you want to talk about? I know Jeff has
not theories. 2 things I want to talk about. So
Okay.
I can either go now or we can go. One prediction and one thing that I wish can't happen, but I wish could have happened.
Okay.
One thing that I think is going to happen in season 8. We are not done with Nymeria, the direwolf. She is coming back, Wolfpack deep, at some point, and I think it's going to be in the big battle.
I would like it.
I would love it.
But here's my problem with it. I feel like if they do that, they're kind of ruining that scene in the last thing where she's like, "Come with me," and Nymearia's like, "Nah, I'm not helping you."
Yeah, but that's because like Arya's cool. She's like manhandling Westeros at this point. She just killed the whole Frey household. She's like doing whatever she wants. Like,
so this theory is almost a guarantee in the books, right? Like
I was going to say,
how many
100%
times do we
in the
hear about
books.
Nymeria and her huge pack just like fucking people up in the books. Like, basically every chapter, when somebody's walking through the Riverlands, they're like, oh my god, we got attacked. Oh my god, did you hear that these other people got attacked by wolves who weren't afraid of men? Like, what?
And one wolf was a monster.
Yeah, as big as a horse. Like, that's definitely going to happen in the books, which is why I would be okay if it didn't happen in the show, because I know I'm going to get it in the books, and it's going to probably be better anyway. When I saw Nymeria in an episode, I'm a huge dog guy. You guys know that.
If you're not a dog guy, get the hell out of here.
Yeah,
right?
just turn the podcast off now. I don't
Deserve
even
to be
want
on this
you listening.
podcast.
Glow's a cat guy.
No, bullshit. I'm 100% a dog guy. I love the puppers.
So when I saw Nymeria, and I'm like, yes, we're finally getting some more direwolves, because Ghost, who knows what Ghost's been doing in the show. They kind of wrote him out of the show. But I was like, yes, Nymeria's coming back. And again, I think another thing against your theory, and this hasn't anything to do with plot, they've said the direwolves are way more expensive to CGI than even the dragons are.
They've spent like $14 billion on this season.
That's true. I don't know.
Right.
I think it'd be cool, but I think it kind of ruins the whole that last thing.
Yeah, I mean, if they do it in a way where it's mixed into a big battle scene,
yeah.
Does it really need to be like as pinpoint accurate as you need to be? Probably not.
Yeah.
I just want to see it. Like,
I think it'd be blurs on the screen flying across. That's all you fucking need.
I don't think anybody would. I don't think anybody would be mad if it happened.
Right.
Not
and then, what I wish we could have seen, which wouldn't have really been possible, or like have had any traction in the show, but would have had a lot of traction in the books, is if Aemon could have met Daenerys. Just like a little reunion, even if it was like on the deathbed, like they could just have like a little bit of a conversation.
I don't know if
we lost Aemon too soon. Lost Aemon too soon.
In the books, he definitely says like a Targaryen alone in this world is a terrible thing. We're talking about Daenerys when he finds out that she's alive and like real.
Right.
Because at first,
and he's talking to Jon, isn't he?
He's talking to Sam on the boat. Again,
Sam.
He might be.
The next scene they show Jon though.
In the show.
I believe they show Jon the next scene.
Does Aemon know Daenerys is alive in the show?
I think so.
Yeah, he gets like a letter.
I think that's kind of in both.
A raven.
I think that's in both.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, that would.
I think it would have been an awesome reunion. Like, I would have taken that reunion over Clegane Bowl. Like, I don't really care about Clegane Bowl. It doesn't get me all juiced up. It's just like, it feels like it's going to be a forced scene. All right, you two go fight each other.
I wish it would have happened earlier in like season 7 or something. I think it would have been better then.
But those were the two things I had. And I really only had the one, but when we were talking about Aemon
thought about it
earlier, I was like, damn, like he should have been able to see Daenerys. That would have been some cool shit.
Or at least know that Jon was a Targaryen, right? He was with Jon the entire time and didn't know he was with a Targaryen. He thought he was the only one alone in the world. Oh, no, he doesn't. When he's talking to Dan... Oh, wait, yeah, you're right. When he's talking about a Targaryen alone in this world is a terrible thing, he is talking about Dany, but he's referencing himself because he knew that he was the last Targaryen for a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it would have been sweet if he could have known that Jon was a Targaryen, or like somehow had a sense. But yeah, Glow, you got any big theories or predictions for the next season?
The next season, I really don't have any theories really,
right.
But books.
Well, no brainer.
Here's my we're gonna leave the books out because I think I feel like we're scaring away any show watchers when we get deep into the book stuff. But so I'm gonna give you guys my theory for. It's not really a theory. I guess it's a theory of what I think is gonna be kind of like the overarching storyline behind season 8. I think all this shit's gonna be going on. Battle of Winterfell, people getting ready for that. It's just going on with Cersei at the end. I think, or maybe it doesn't last to the end. At least the first 3 episodes. I think Bran is going to be going Weirwood the whole way, going back in time, trying to figure stuff out, trying to fix stuff. Because he calls out to Ned, and Ned turns around in that one vision, right?
Yeah.
Even though the Three-Eyed Raven told him the past is written, the ink is dry, you can't change anything. I think Bran's going to try. What we see in one of his visions when he is having like that flashback when he's leaving the cage. We see Aerys saying, "Burn them all, burn them all." I think Bran is going to go back in time to different points and try and figure out ways to stop the White Walkers. So I think he's going to go to Aerys and try and tell Aerys burn them all, burn all the White Walkers, and then somehow make Aerys go crazy, and it doesn't work. It
thinks he has to burn them.
It has an opposite effect, right? He wants to burn everybody, not just the White Walkers.
That makes sense.
Well, yeah, that could be like one of the things that they're saying as he's trying to talk to Aerys, like someone's saying, burn them all, burn them all.
So
and that's probably why he wanted all the, what's the green liquid?
White wildfire.
Wildfire.
Yeah.
The green
Bran
liquid.
wanted wildfire to battle the wildlings, so he stores them all up years later, or years before.
Exactly, and maybe Aerys the whole time
and then
knew.
Cersei ruins them all.
Maybe the whole time Aerys knew that the White Walkers were coming, and he wasn't crazy. But when you start yelling, "Burn them all," everybody thinks you're crazy, and Jaime stabbed him.
keep building off of this. Is that why he burns the two Starks? Because he knows there's something with the Stark
The
blood
Starks connected to exactly. It could like another thing is Bran the Builder. A lot of people think Bran the Builder is
Stark,
the
right?
same. Well, he is a Stark, but a lot of people think it's the same Bran. Where he goes back in time and he's like, we got to build a wall to stop these White Walkers.
I don't like that.
That doesn't really make sense with me because Bran already knows the wall falls, but I guess it does do its job for a long time.
I don't like it. What? So Bran can just like be an actual human being in the past too and build shit?
Again, this is one of the things that,
like
my vision's blur or my memory is blurry, whether it's both show and book or just book, but I think it's both. When at the very beginning, Bran, when he wakes up, he has his legs hurt, he can't go anywhere, and he's just listening to old Nan talk nonstop. She tells him, like, Bran and Starks have been around since the beginning of the Stark family. He's like, and they've all slept in this bed, or like, they all sleep in this bed, or whatever. He's like, says something about that, like, along those lines, and it almost makes you seem like he could be, like, she even says, like, I've given stories to so many Bran and Starks that I can't tell which one's which. Which is, a lot of people think that Bran and Stark, there's always a Bran and Stark, like, even Ned's dad, and it's always kind of somehow has something to do with Bran.
I don't know.
Or Ned's brother.
They also, like, I've heard a theory, like, Brandon Stark, Brandon the Builder, he built the wall and Winterfell, which should take multiple lifelines to complete both of them. Or lifetimes to complete both of them. So, like, maybe there's a couple Brandon Starks that Bran was controlling or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So the last part of this, my, like, little theory here is when Bran goes... a lot of people think Bran's the Night King. And my theory ties into that. I think Bran's the Night King. I think he'd go back in time and he's trying to fix stuff throughout our story. And I think Aerys is one. I think we'll find out of 2 or 3 other things that happened during the 7 seasons. Bran was kind of behind. Like, he was trying to convince somebody. So here's what happens.
The Children of the Corn made the Night King. What do you mean?
Listen. Bran goes back and realizes that...
Children of the Corn.
Children of the Corn. Bran is trying all this stuff and realizes that none of it's working. He's like, all right, last straw. I have to go back and convince the children to not make... Because he's the only one that knows the children made them. They told him. So he's like, I have to go back that far and convince the children not to make them. So he goes back, is trying to convince the children, wargs into this guy, or like maybe he's just been trying to stop them for so long that he's that old. And because he can walk in his dreams... And then he's trying to convince them, like, hey, I'm from the future. You're about to create these people. They're evil. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. But at that point, he's the one that's about to be turned in. So at that point, it just sounds like a person pleading for his life. Like, don't do it. You're going to destroy everything. Like, yeah, you're just begging for your life. He becomes the Night King, gets trapped in that body, and then, like, Bran is like the Bran body is dead.
You're losing me with this.
So I think the only way Bran realizes that to beat the Night King is he has to kill himself before that happens. Or like Melisandre finds out that Bran's going to become the Night King and you have to kill him before that happens.
No.
There are
two existing things right now. I don't see it.
What do you mean?
That's a tough one.
They're existing at the same time. This isn't Back to the Future.
You can exist at the same time Back to the Future.
Huh?
You can exist at the same time Back to the Future.
Yeah, I'm saying this isn't Back to the Future.
It's a classic time travel thing. Well, we've already seen...
He's not time traveling.
He is. We saw what he did to Hodor. He affected the past with his
time
travel.
So then the three-eyed raven lied to him.
No, it's already written. He tries to go back and convince the children of the forest to not make
the whole story's done. Then him going back in time now in season 8 would mean nothing because it's already done.
Well, yeah, the Night King's already created.
Stupid theory.
But by killing Bran in the present time would kill the Night King because that's the person that he's warred into through time.
We'll see what the fans say.
And then all of
I don't like it.
The timeline changes after that. Yeah, I don't like that.
Well, no, I don't think you guys are understanding, but yeah, I think that I think
if we're
some
not
of that's going to be
understanding,
true.
it's because you sucked at describing it.
I think some of that's going to be true. I think you guys are probably right. All of it's a little far-fetched. It gets a little bit too much time travel-y for Game of Thrones, where there's not been that much of that so far.
Like I said, it's not Back to the Future.
But I bet that there's going to be a lot of Bran trying to go fix stuff that causes things that already happened, like Hodor.
I don't think there's
King
going to be a lot of
Aerys,
that.
like some other stuff that we're
I
gonna
think
find
King
out.
Aerys is definitely fucked with by Bran.
Bran's got like 2 uses left. Tell Jon he's a Targaryen and not a bastard, and then maybe do like something else, and then he's gonna die.
Bran is what the story is about. It's all about Bran.
I think that's pretty lame.
All right, so
He's the first chapter.
yeah, he is the first chapter. That's what George R. R. Martin had in his head when he came up with the whole thing.
He was on some crazy weed when he wrote that shit.
All right, so that's all the theories I had. What out of what we talked about, which one do you guys think is the most likely? Well, we got Tyrion's a Targaryen. We got NightKing is after the unborn baby. NightKing's after Dany. Melisandre is Nissa Nissa, and then my crazy Bran theory.
Melisandre is Nissa Nissa creates Lightbringer. That's what I truly believe that's going to happen now.
Yeah, I think that's a
After
pretty good
getting
one.
that brought to my attention, like
I think that's a good
boom,
one.
it's
Yeah, that's
happening.
probably.
I would agree. It's probably a good one.
After that, I would say they could be after the unborn baby. I think that's the 2 most realistic.
Okay. Yeah,
if it's just for Dany, I'm over this show. I might burn the books and not finish.
all right, here's
The books. George R. R. Martin's changing it, man.
yeah.
I'm
The
just
books would be
kidding.
better.
I'll be done the books by the time the season's over.
All right, we've been recording for 50 minutes. Hopefully I can cut it down a little shorter than that. But for a sign-off, let's all just go through and say which reunion we're most excited for. Because this will probably be the last episode we get out before the show comes out. So which 2 characters are you excited to meet up for the first time?
All right, who wants to go first? I don't care.
Jon and Ghost.
Jon and Ghost. Technically, they shouldn't have ever been apart, but...
Yeah, I know. Jon and Arya for sure. I mean, in the books, they make the relationship so huge.
Good one.
But
Sam and Jon. Let's see what they do. I think I stole Nelson's.
I hadn't really thought about it, for being honest. I think if we see a Jaime-Bran reunion...
Ooh.
Or a Jaime-Dany reunion, like you killed my dad, or like you pushed me out a window, you fuckboy.
yo. Yeah, but Bran's not going to care. Bran's going to be like, you put this in motion. I forgive you.
I'm no longer Bran. I'm the 3-eyed raven. He's a pussy, man. That's why it can't be about him. He sucks. I hate Bran.
And for my like warm-hearted one, and this goes back to something that's in the very first episode of Game of Thrones, when Arya and Sansa are doing their needlework. Septim Mordain tells Arya, "You have the hands of a blacksmith." Guess what? We see Gendry making swords in Winterfell. We saw him at Eastwatch. He's coming back from Eastwatch to Winterfell, gonna meet Arya.
They're going to fuck.
No.
Kissy, happily ever after. Arya and Gendry,
No.
they're the ones.
One more.
Sit in the Iron Throne.
One that was promised to us. Melisandre and Arya.
Yeah, that was a
promised.
Yeah.
So.
And I hope it's not just like, oh, hey, I told you I'd see you again.
Arya's Lightbringer, and she's the one that kills Melisandre. Well, I was thinking, what's his name? Davos, because he's like, the next time I see you, I'm going to kill you. But that's how left
Davos
field.
just swings out a sword on fire.
Woo! That could be crazy. I'm behind that. All right. Well, good episode, guys. We're going to be publishing an episode as soon as we can after the first episode of Game of Thrones Season 8. So be ready for that. And get excited.
All right. See you, everybody.
All right, have a good one.